Hello, hello, my friends. Amy R here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And yes, this set. I was like, which hand? Things are going to continue to change a little bit here and there. I finally was able to get a couple more Calyx units and slowly getting organized. By saying that, I know lots of requests for a video tour. No promises, honestly. Not on my radar for a long time. I'm not keeping up with life as it is. But yeah, things will be moving around and I'm just trying to get more organized. We'll see where it goes. But that's what I've been working on the last little bit, hence lack of videos, because I couldn't even really get in here. I'm moving stuff around and, turning those Allen wrenches. So anywho, these cards are for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge. I've talked about that many times. It is a challenge that is just for fun. Anyone can play along. I always link to it in my blog post that is linked directly below the video. And then I link, you go over to my blog post and then I'll link to the current challenge. All the info is on the Color Throwdown blog. And yeah, we don't do like sponsors or anything like that. It's just a group of makers that we just do a new Color Throwdown challenge every week. And we post our creations and then people can post links to what they've made with the colors. And it's just for fun. So I love it because it just makes me think. Color combos that I just do not go for or would think of or whatever. This being another one of them, I was like, and then I start, my brain started going and I was like, oh yes, fun. So yeah, that is about it. I did a lot of white space on these cards too, which isn't normal for me either, but it was fun. It was fun. So keep watching and I will show you guys how I made these cards. My first step with these cards was die cutting. So I've got some Ranger Distress watercolor paper and my wafer die sets. And I am using, where did I put my little pile of die sets here? I'm using the Windswept Leaves. It's one of the newer ones from Simon Says Stamp that I've used on many videos. It has become a favorite. So Windswept Leaves, and then this other one is the Layered Warbler, because I'm going to put a bird on it. And decided, while I've got everything out, why not die cut more than one and make 2 cards. And then I'm sticking my die cuts to, this is the one of the Waffle Flower grip mats. Those were released a couple weeks ago. They're new. I've shown them in one or 2 videos so far. You guys, my brain is mush. Anyway, yeah, there's other videos out there about them. Basically, these are made out of photopolymer, the same stuff as like high quality photopolymer stamps. And I'm testing them out for holding like my die cuts, like so, because I usually will use like my sticky mats. That still works. Those are great. I've got, this is the biggest one. This is the 8.5 inch by 8.5 inch one. And yeah, I'll go back and forth between them, but so far I'm really liking these mats. And I have one in my mini Misty and I'll use that later in this video too. And yeah, I'm a fan. So I have my little die cuts just kind of stuck to this grip mat. And with this versus the sticky mat, this isn't as sticky. Not with like die cuts like this and like watercoloring, but it still works. I'm liking it. And it will stain, again, because it's photopolymer. High quality photopolymer is going to stain. Like your stamps are going to stain. It's just the nature. I know we like to keep things clean, but trust me, you just got to let it go. you just got to let it go. It's okay. It is okay. The more you use it, the more they get stained. And if you want to be extra picky about it, keep one for use and keep another, get another one and keep it pristine if it makes you feel better, I have done that sometimes with some things, but now I use my tools and enjoy them. Anyway, let's get into what I was actually doing. I'm using Distress Inks to color these, and I titled the video Easy Watercolor because it is. I just smush the Distress inks onto my little palette here. I could have smushed them right onto my glass work surface. The only reason I don't do that very often is it's funny that in my head, like I will get it more on my arm. I still ended up, you don't see it in the video, but I do end up, I've got like green stains on my arm because I have a tendency, to get my elbows and everything. So anyway, I smushed the inks that I use, and I will link to all the specific colors just onto a little palette. I just grabbed a brush at random and I'm legit slapping color on. I'm not doing anything super fancy. And yeah, I want, texture, all of that. To get more texture, I would do ink smushing, which I've shown in a bajillion videos, especially recent ones, because that's, one of my favorite things to do. This time I wanted less texture, because with ink smushing, I get those like speckly, splotchy, just love chef's kiss. But this, I wanted something just different. So this is a great way to add color to your die cuts. And with Distress inks, you can't go wrong, I was mixing colors here and there. For the bird, I used Lost Shadow with a bit of hickory smoke, some Rusty Hinge, and a bit of Black Soot. For the greenery, I mixed Bundled Sage and Mowed Lawn. Not colors I would normally put together. Bundled Sage is not a color I reach for very often, but again, this is why I love the color throwdown challenge, because the colors, we're not super strict on the colors, but because it varies depending on what you're viewing, what computer screen or phone or whatever you're using to look at the little graphic. So I find it fun because, how the color is appearing to me, and I'm just like, what have I got that is that color, or what can I mix to get that color? So with the green, I was like, Bundled Sage and Mowed Lawn. Why not? And I like it. I like how it turned out. It just worked. So slapped all that color on, let those dry, and then assemble my birds. Very, very simple to assemble these little dudes. You just kind of look at the packaging, honestly. And yeah, he's just so cute, And does he look like a bird in real life? Probably not. I don't care. That's what I had to get over. I was someone, I've talked about this before. I avoided using birds on my cards for a very long time because I don't know, I got hung up on it and created like a mental block, literally, because I was like, I don't know enough about birds. Even though with everything else, like florals, all the things, I'm like, who cares if it exists in nature? This is art. Like, do whatever you want. Same thing with birds, man, and any other little critters and whatever else you want to do. It's card making, Just enjoy it. That's all I got to say. So, yeah, this little bird, I just slapped all the color on, let them dry, and adhered them. Did the same thing. They're super cute, make me happy. And then I used this leftover scraps of all that watercolor paper I die cut. And I die cut just the smaller flower from the newer, it's called the Layered Dandy flower that Simon released. And it has two sizes. This is the smaller of the two. The other one is big. And I didn't want that because it would just make the birds look like just ridiculously tiny, I think. So I just used the smaller one. I was able to die cut the scraps. And this is where I was able to pull in the fuchsia color for the color throwdown. And I picked raspberry with seedless preserves. Just, again, one of my favorite combos. The colors on their own, like picked raspberry is one of my faves. Seedless preserves, beautiful. Mix them together. Yes. So I mixed them together. And again, slap the color on. Kept it a little lighter on the like large portion of the bloom, and then the little detail bit, that one I painted darker, And then for the little flower centers, I just used that Rusty Hinge again. And same thing, let that dry, which didn't take very long. After I had let these dry, I took everything off of here and clean my grip map. I just wiped it with a baby wipe, honestly. You clean them just like you would your stamps. Again, same product, works just great. I've already stained it. That Black Soot, just decided to stain it, which was interesting. I was curious, so I did use one of my little stamp cleaners, my Simon stamp cleaner, because you can use stamp cleaners on this, because again, same product. You can also use like gentle soap and water. That works too. But yeah, no matter what though, depending on what you're using, it will stain. It's just the nature of the product. But I wiped it off, set it aside, and then assembled these little flowers. Again, super, super simple. I'm just using my glue of choice here today is just my go-to Craft Tacky glue, and I have it in a little Gina K precision bottle, and that has been working really well for me. Craft Tacky glue, for those that have it and have contacted me about it, it is a thicker glue. Personally, I love that. It just, you start using something like certain tools, certain glues, certain things, and you just, know how it works. You know how it feels, you know how it works, you know how it's going to behave, etc. That's how I am with Craft Tacky glue. That's why I don't often even bother with other. I have so many brands of glue in here. Seriously, it's ridiculous. And I won't get rid of them because you never know. I might need them, but I know how this glue works, so I'm comfortable with it. But there's so many good glues on the market that, use what works for you. So I assembled my little flowers, and then I pulled out my Platinum 6 die cut machine. I have the original base plate, and I have 2 metal shims. This is also what works for me. You can use like scrap cardstock, scrap paper, but the base plate and 2 metal shims is what works for me with Simon's 3D embossing folders. They do list with their embossing folders, and any brand of embossing folder, I'm pretty sure, will list different options for their folders and the different machines out there. And then that said, you still also just need to figure out what works best for your machine, because they can all be just a slight bit different. But I spritzed my cardstock lightly with water. That just helps it emboss better. And I ran it through the machine with the cardstock using Simon's spun glass embossing folder. I did that twice. And then I pulled out an oldie but goodie set. I don't even know how old this one is. This one came out a couple years ago at least. This is the Friend Greetings set. And I just used the tiny little Thinking of You sentiment from it. And I white heat embossed onto black cardstock and then die cut it with one of Simon's Sentiment Label wafer dies. And then I got my mini Misty out. This one has another one of the Wallflower grip mats in there. And again, I'm just barely getting a chance because I just got these recently. So I don't have a whole lot to say about them yet because I haven't really, put them through their paces. But I have it in my mini Misty so it holds my paper in place. Loving it for that too. So I am inking up a sentiment from another favorite stamp set of mine. This is the XL Greetings 2 stamp set. And I'm inking it up with that Picked Raspberry and Rusty Hinge Distress inks. And I've been talking about inks a lot, obviously. I'm a card maker. Inks are kind of my thing. But I've been talking about like ink formulas, stuff like that. Distress inks are not formulated for stamping. That is not what they were made for. Distress inks were formulated for like all the fun inky techniques, the smushing, the watercoloring, the splattering, all the things. They were not made for stamping. Does that mean you can't stamp with them? No, I'm doing it right now. I've done it a ton. You just aren't going to get the exact same results as you will with inks that are formulated for stamping. That's where a Misty comes in handy too, because you can, especially with this distress inks, the oxides do stamp better because they have the pigments in them. But having a stamp positioning tool helps a ton because you can restamp more than once. You can pretty much make any ink work for whatever you want it to do within reason. There's always caveats to that, but So I stamped that sentiment on the insides of the cards using those 2 colors. So I got a fun little ombre, and I'll show that at the end again. And then I trimmed down those embossed panels to be smaller than my card fronts and adhered them to the card bases just with Craft Tacky glue. Decided not to pop it up with foam tape or anything like that because I've actually got quite a bit of like texture and dimension going on between the 3D embossing and then I'll add, all the die cut pieces and whatnot. So I adhered those. And this is one of the perks of doing more than one card. And I've talked about this and showed this in like previous videos, is I will take one card and like fiddle with my layout, figure out what I want to do, and then use that as my guide, adhere as I'm showing on the other card, and then go back and, finish the first one. So it just gives me a chance to kind of fiddle, figure things out. Obviously, if you're only doing one card, you can do this, and then like I will literally sometimes either take a picture of the card because between just figuring out the layout and then taking it off to start adhering, I will forget. I will. So I either will take a picture or there's the press and seal trick, which has been shown in tons of videos. I don't do that one as often because usually I'm doing more than one card. So why not? But that works too. And yeah, adhered my little bird and the greenery and the blooms. And then of course I'm going to add splatter. I was like, does it need splatter? No, it doesn't. Am I going to do it? Of course. So put them in my splat box, and I'm just using white gouache. I almost used gold. That would have looked really good too, but I decided to use white gouache this time. So I put that on my palette, thinned it out with a little bit of water to get it to a nice splattery consistency, and then used my fan brush and splattered this on both of these cards and onto the backgrounds as well, like even the embossed backgrounds. You don't really see it like on camera, but in real life you can see it on the white cardstock. It's there. It's subtle, but it's there, and I loves it. So I let that dry, and my little tiny Thinking View sentiments, I am going to adhere those with some of Waffle Flowers foam strips. Literally love these things. I love Waffle Flowers foam strips. I used to go on, again, those are that have been with me for a while. Remember, like the Dries ones from back in the day? Those were like game changing. Loved those. And then they disappeared. And that was because a big craft company bought them out and discontinued the entire line. So I was legit sad about that. And then Waffle Flower came out with foam strips, and they have them in 2 thicknesses, and they have them in white and black. And I was like, again, chef's kiss. So anyhow, I use those to adhere the sentiments. And then some bling, of course. One of my faves. This is the Trinity Stamps Morganite Muse. Love. And definitely one of my favorites, because I'm looking at my little container of it right now, and I've used up like half the container already. Love these things. So I put just a few of them onto the backgrounds, and once I was kind of happy with my placement, I adhered them into place with dabs of Craft Tacky Glue, and I'm going to let that glue dry, and that's going to finish off these cards. So like I mentioned earlier, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. In the blog post, I'll link to the Color Throwdown Challenge. I will have pictures of the cards and a picture link supply list to everything I used. So that'll be in the blog post. I'll also have my supply list with links to everything in the description box below the video, along with the links to my social medias and all that good stuff. So you can check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs up in and commenting and letting the robot overlords know you like what you see. And subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.